Welcome everyone to History Gone Wilder, part of Half History Will Travel. I am your host, the Wilder historian, Dr. Lucas Wilder, and I wanted to do a video to help out history majors going through college. This is both for undergraduates and first-year graduate students particularly, but I'll be going into what is expected of a history major in graduate school and what we go through to earn a master's degree or doctorate in history. Please pass this along to anyone in your circle of friends or in your family who may be history majors. First of all, let's talk about the graduate requisite exam. In all honesty, I believe it is a scam and a waste of money, but it is part of the process. It's supposed to test your knowledge so that institutions know that you're prepared for graduate school, but I never felt the exam itself was a reflection of my abilities. Now, here's the secret. Not every school cares about those grades. All require that you take it, but many don't actually look at it when choosing its students. Keep that in mind when applying to schools. It's a good idea before taking the GRE to reach out to the graduate school at the university you want to attend and ask whether it's a deal breaker or not. Most won't come right out and say it, but they will let you know in some way how much stock they give to that exam. For instance, when I applied to Auburn, they rejected me for one because of my math score on the GRE, that it was too low. Why did I need to be great at math to be a history graduate student? I have no idea, but that's the reason they gave. Most people have an idea of what field of history they want to get into by the time they get to the end of their bachelor's degree. Within the field of history, we have historiography. Now, you should have learned this in your undergraduate studies, although some professors or schools don't emphasize it as much as others. The historiography of something is the history of the history. What have historians said about a particular topic over the course of its written history? For instance, after World War II, William Tecumseh Sherman's raids in Mississippi and his march to the sea have been characterized as total war. However, in 1997, historian Mark Grimsley published a book entitled The Hard Hand of War, Union Military Policy Towards Civilians, 1861 to 1865. In it, he argues that Union policy towards Southerners became more destructive, but it wasn't indiscriminate. It was a controlled destruction, and it would be best described as a hard war, not a total war. Knowing the history of how historians have viewed the Civil War or other topics is a part of your training in undergraduate and graduate school, and you need to improve upon that as you progress through your academic career. That will be what you are tested on in graduate studies. Once you go to graduate school, the focus isn't as much on history, but the history of history, again, historiography. When you're reading these books, you need to focus on what arguments that they are making about a certain event, person, or time period. That leads me to the reading load expected in graduate school. You'll normally take 3 classes per semester. Each one of those classes will usually assign you 1 book to read a week, so that means you'll be at least reading 3 books a week. When I took a historiography class, one week I had to read 8 books. Now, it would take all of your spare time to read 8 books cover to cover. Professors know that you can't read that many books in a week, so they expect you to read the graduate way. It takes time to get used to, but you'll get all the information you need that way. First, you read the introduction thoroughly. Spend a great deal of time there. You'll find the argument of the book and the basic outline of what they are contributing to the field of study. Then, read the first sentence of every paragraph. If the paragraph seems critical to the argument, read the whole paragraph. Then, read the conclusion thoroughly. Also take diligent notes. Start a Word document. Each book should occupy 1 page. Note what the argument is, how the author goes about providing his argument, important details to know, and any other books that it may be in conversation with, like what book is he or she arguing against. Keep all of these notes. They'll come in handy at the end of your coursework. In general, there are 2 types of classes in graduate school. They are called different things at different universities, but at Mississippi State, where I got my doctorate, the 2 classes were colloquiums and seminars. Colloquiums are classes where you read a book each week, and in class you discuss the arguments and content, deciding if the argument was convincing, and talking about any problems you found within the book. Generally, you have to write some kind of review for the book that mimics a book review found in an academic journal, because you'll be expected to write those in your profession. At the end of the colloquium, you'll write a historiographic paper over a topic of your choice. So, spend the semester reading the books that are critical to that field. Normally, my papers were a minimum of 20 pages in length. In the paper, you'll discuss how the field progressed with the publishing of each new book on that topic. Seminar classes revolve around you picking a topic and writing a 20 to 30 page research paper over that topic. It should include original research performed by you and contribute to the historiography. If you do it right, you'll have a basic frame and a lot of content for a journal article so you can get it published early in your career. When I was an undergrad, I thought I may go into ancient history, but I found out that I would have to learn multiple languages and decided against it, deciding to stick with American history. Many schools for your doctorate require you to know a foreign language. At Mississippi State, you could learn a foreign language, or you could work in an archive for a year. I chose to work in an archive and spent a year with the Ulysses S. Grant Presidential Library on campus, getting to help annotate the newest Grant memoirs published by Harvard Press, and then transcribing the World War II letters of Sonny Montgomery. That being said, either start learning a foreign language early or find a school that gives you an alternative. Now let's go back to that list of books with their arguments that I told you to keep track of and that you'll need later. Near the end of your coursework, you'll have to complete your comprehensive exams. They vary in amount from school to school, but at Mississippi State I had to take 4 exams. My focus was American history, so I took the exam for early U.S. history and modern U.S. history. Then I took 2 exams in my 2 nodes of excellence, military history focusing on the Civil War and environmental history. For the better part of the year before the exams, you'll read somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 to 150 books assigned to you by each examiner. I read a little over 400 books in preparation for my comprehensive exams. I was basically reading 3 books a day, the graduate way. I read a book before work, during work, and 1 after work, taking notes on each one. The exams varied, but the examiner will generally give you a list of questions, usually 3 or 4, and you answer 2 of them, writing as much as you possibly can about the topic, mostly supplying the historiography. 2 of the exams were 4 hours long, 1 was 6 hours, and 1 was 12 hours. The longer ones I took at my apartment, but the other 2 I had to reserve a room on campus in which to take them. Once you complete the exams, take the questions you didn't answer and write a rough outline of how you would answer them. This is important because your next step is to defend your exams orally, and your examiners will be asking you about the questions you didn't answer as well. I'm not going to lie, the scariest moment in my college career was when I sat for my comprehensive exam defense. I was scared out of my wits, and then after you answer the questions, you leave the room and the examiners debate whether you sufficiently answer the questions to pass the exams. Once you pass the exams, then you must type up a proposal for the topic you want to write your dissertation about. After submitting that to the committee that you choose, then you have to defend your proposal orally and get the all clear from your committee that the topic is approved of. Writing the dissertation isn't difficult. It's finding the time and sticking with it. A great many doctoral candidates get all the way to the dissertation and then just never finish. You only have a certain amount of time to write it. Your committee and dissertation advisor can be your best friend or your best enemy. I had a wonderful committee, but it was still a difficult process. I started writing my 6th chapter first, and I would send it to my advisor. Then he would send it back, telling me it wasn't good enough and it didn't fit well within what my dissertation would be. Stubbornly, I rewrote it, then sent it back again. I ended up writing the chapter about 4 or 5 times. Finally, my advisor said, "You can either try to rewrite it, or you can move on to another chapter and come back to it." I decided to move on to another chapter, and within 9 months, I had most of the dissertation completed. When I came to the 6th chapter again, I realized that it absolutely didn't fit my dissertation, what my advisor was saying all along, but I couldn't see it. When I completely scrapped the chapter and wrote a new one whole cloth, it was approved instantly. If you have a good advisor, trust them. They know what they're talking about. I know that some advisors are extremely difficult to work with, and if you feel you're unfairly treated, you may want to change advisors, but also consider it may be your work. Good communication is key, and I can't thank my advisor enough for his help and his style of advising. Although I got frustrated, I never felt he wasn't helping me succeed, and I couldn't have asked for a better advisor. After you write the dissertation, then you must defend it orally. Although it was a scary moment, you have to remember you're the expert in this situation. They are critiquing your work, but you know the sources. It's not nearly as bad as the comprehensive exams. The dissertation defense was more of a conversation than an interrogation. Don't think your journey is done there. I jokingly told my advisor the most difficult part about the dissertation was formatting it for the university. Your institution will have a specific way they want you to format the dissertation for inclusion in their database. It's a miserable process, but I got worried on multiple occasions because if my formatting wasn't done right, it could delay my graduation. So that's what it's like to be in graduate school. I hope this helped you. If you found this useful, pass it on to someone else, because I want to educate as many people as possible to prepare them for graduate school. It's a difficult process, but it's very rewarding.